Groundhog Day Wisdom was the title for my talk, and I am going to talk about wisdom and the circle. So getting stuck in that circle is the thing. So do you know whether Phil saw a shadow today? He did. You know what that means? Six more weeks of winter, at least in Pennsylvania. It's been a crazy winter. And those of you who have been around for a while are just shocked at how cold it's stayed. But having lived in Kansas City for the 3 years before I got here, it's nothing. Enough of the weather. But you know, I do want to think about the groundhog a little bit, and it's just ironic, isn't it? When he sees his shadow, which means the sun is shining, he goes back in the burrow and he hides. And I just know there's some metaphysical truth to that. That shadow, when you see it and actually look at it, the first thing you want to do is run away from it and go back in hiding. The shadow, the things that we like to keep secret about ourselves, from ourselves. So we'll think about that today. I began a series 2 weeks ago. Rene Perret was here last week, and his message fit right into it. The series is based on the book Finding Yourself in Transition by Robert Brummett, who's a teacher of mine from Unity Institute. And he is the pastoral care teacher, instructor at the Institute. So he really has focused a lot on how can we recover from those disasters in our lives. Because when you're a pastor, you get to hear stories and you want to help. Unfortunately, for you, the pastor can't do a lot of fixing. It really is something that you need to go through on your own, with the help of others, but not with the fixes of others. And the transition that he talks about in terms of change is threefold. One, something ends. Second, there's a void. And third, then there's a new beginning. The void is what I want to focus on today. And it's really an important piece that we often want to skip because, as I just mentioned, the void is where the shadow comes out. It's the place where we may see some of the ghosts or skeletons that we've put in our closet and we don't want to face. The void after an ending. The void is the time. I'm just really distracted by this microphone. Do you hear the distraction I'm hearing? Something kind of rustles every once in a while. It's like somebody's whispering in my ear. Anyway, okay. So, you know, the thing that happens is when changes come into our lives, rarely are they somebody else's fault. It's kind of like, well, yes, when someone leaves our life, like a death of someone, like we are experiencing in this community. Chad has left us as the leader. And so that's an external force that's caused us to have a change. Sometimes changes come from within. You're just going along with your life and then you begin to notice this divine discontent. And you begin to realize that the things that satisfied you in the past just aren't anymore. And you think, oh no, I don't want to change. But it's coming anyway. It's a passage. If you're young, you can expect that. You're growing older. You're going to keep maturing. But when you're already old, you figure, I've got it all figured out, and there don't need to be any new questions. But that's not the way it works. Right? I'm seeing people who are a lot older than me shaking their heads, so I know I'm not finished either with my questions. We come into this world thinking, answering questions right in the beginning. Remember in the summer we talked about the Toltec 4 agreements, and Don Miguel Ruiz talking about how we come into this world and we adopt the illusion that we are given. Our family, our culture, our teachers tell us who we are, and we adopt that and we begin to define ourselves, and then we operate in life based on that definition. But the problem is that definition can change because of some external force or because of just maturing or waking up spiritually. And so at a point in our lives we'll say, who am I? It's not who I thought I was. And I have to ask that question all over again. Why am I here? It's not what I thought it was. It feels different now. What is my purpose? Well, I thought it was this, but now I'm not so sure. I had a career of 20 years, and now it doesn't satisfy anymore. Now what? I got to start all over again. That happens. And that's the time when something ended. The ease of your definition of your life is over. And now you're stepping into something else. It's not a new beginning yet, though. It's a void. It's a space of trying to figure it out. It's a space of trying to hold on to what it was. It's a space of letting go and allowing a redefinition. I just want to share, if you have not seen the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, please do. If you've seen it, you'll remember. It seems just fluffy and light and silly at first, but it has profound spiritual message. Phil is a TV reporter out of Pittsburgh, a weatherman, who is pretty self-centered, cocky, and unfazed by anybody's emotions or needs. He's just doing his thing. And he is assigned for the 4th year in a row to go to Punxsutawney and cover the Groundhog Day ceremony. And so he goes, and he wakes up the next morning at 6 o'clock. The radio alarm goes off. Excuse me. And he does his thing with announcing the groundhog thing. And then there's a snowstorm and they can't leave town, so they go back to the place where he's staying. And he wakes up the next morning thinking he's going to leave. The radio alarm goes off at 6 o'clock, and it's the exact same song, I Got You, Babe, playing. And the radio announcers say the exact same things. And long story short, he begins to realize that he's repeating the day that he had just had yesterday. And he repeats it again, and again, and again, and again, over and over again, the same people, the same events, the same conversations on the sidewalk. But he realizes he has free will to change whatever he wants, so he says even more nasty things to the people on the sidewalk. And just realizes he's living in some dream. Everybody else is just staying in Groundhog Day, February 2. And he's the only one who seems to be awake and aware of this. He goes through an amazing struggle, trying to understand how reality has changed for him. It's just not reality. He keeps repeating the same gloomy, cold winter day. And he keeps getting more and more sarcastic and cynical and manipulative. And it goes on and on and on. I imagine it's like 3 years of this because of all the things he was able to do. He becomes pretty depressed about it. Like nothing that he does can kick him out of this place he's stuck in. And he wants to get out of it, but he's stuck. And nothing he does, not even attempts of suicide, will change the next morning at 6 o'clock. He still wakes up. He got arrested, but he wakes up the next morning in the bed, not in the jail cell. On and on, nothing will change this stuckness that he's in. He's trying to control it all. I think we often have that reaction when things change around us. We want to keep them the same, and sometimes we get stuck in that need. We get stuck. But the thing that happens to Phil when he finally gets something is he finally makes a shift when he lets go. He makes a shift when he realizes there's nothing I can do about it. He's telling Rita, the producer of the show, who he's been manipulating for years to try to get her to fall in love with him. And she sees right through him. But suddenly he comes straight with her and says, I'm a god. I'm immortal. I've tried to die and I can't. I keep coming back. And there's nothing I can do about it. He's totally stumped. And the pivotal point is when he lets go. When he lets go, he feels free. He doesn't have to try to control it anymore. And he can go with whatever the flow is that's happening. He not only is free from time, but he's free from that manipulative, devious, sarcastic, cynical person. And he finds it's easy to give money to the homeless guy, and all kinds of giving happens. He finds it's easy to become musical and learn an instrument. He finds it's just so much easier to be open and receptive and allowing goodness in his life. And so eventually that is what snaps him out of it, and he can finish and go on with his life. So the metaphysical question the message I get from that, in top of it, then it's the layer of this movie is Punxsutawney Phil, the groundhog. When he sees his shadow, he goes running back into shelter. We don't like to look at our shadow, but the shadow is exactly what we need to look at to get away from to get out of our stuckness. When Phil, the TV reporter, said, I give up. Okay, I'll look at it all. That's when he was able to overcome the stuckness. So I think that this story relates to many people of you right now in your personal lives, and I trust that you're hearing it loud and clear. But I also see it relating to us as a organizational life. That things changed for us in the past couple years, and most significantly in the past month, when the leader of this organization of 30 years is no longer the leader of this organization. Okay? It happened gradually for some of you because you saw that I came in and I've been serving as associate minister, and Chad was still here, and he then stepped back a little, and I stepped up a little bit more, and all of that was fine, and you got it, but now it's for real. And now it's, okay, who are we? So those questions of when you came into this organization, into this fellowship, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you came in and said, who are these folks? I'm going to check them out. And you started to answer those defining questions. Who are they? What are they all about? How do I fit in? How will they serve me? How can I serve them? All those questions were answered when you got here. And now every single one of you, whether you've been here for 30 years or 3 months, have to answer those questions again. Because we have to realize it's not Chad's church anymore. It's always going to be Chad's spirit, message, light, and love. But the region and the country of Unity says, oh, that's Chad's church. And now we're going to have to say, well, it was. And so we're in the void. We have experienced an ending. And we're in that question, who are we now? How do I fit in? How can it serve me? And most importantly, how can I serve it as we move into something new? The letting go was the key thing for the weather reporter, Phil. The letting go. There's nothing I can do about it. You know, we can try to hang on to the way it was, and every one of us has a different picture of the way it was. And we can hang on and hang on and hang on, and as we learn from these kind of stories, hanging on is just going to keep us stuck. The void is a time that's scary, adventurous. It calls up a need to have faith. It calls up a need to go with the flow. It calls up the Buddhist practice. Don't try to push things. Let them happen naturally. Don't try to push the river. Let it flow. It calls up a need for community and for trust, for conversation, transparency. It calls up a letting go, a letting God, if you might say. Whatever God is in your understanding. Let spirit, let divine wisdom, let love be the guide instead of holding on and trying to do your own. The void is a place for us to find ourselves. Some of you wanted to start saying a while ago, who are we? Where are we going next? We really couldn't ask and explore that question until we got into the void. And here we are. A place to find ourselves as an organization, and not to rush that question. To come together, to learn to trust, to listen, and to hold it in meditation. It's a time for us to pay attention to our dreams and our visions when we meditate. It's a time for us to release our human egoic will and let divine will be done. We can do that if we join hands, so to speak, come together, look each other in the eye, speak from our hearts, and share and vision, and then let it be. Don't have to come to a solution right away. Are you willing, in your personal life and in this corporate life of this organization, to let go of trying to find a quick fix? Are you willing to say, I don't know, I can't do anything about it, I'm just willing to be here in the void? The wilderness experience. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I will fear no wrongdoings. I will fear no destruction. Fear is the worst thing that we can cling to right now. Letting go of that is a daily, hourly practice for all of us who are in leadership, and we invite all of you to join us to let go of fear and to trust the process. Robert Brummett says about the void, in order to become who we really are, we must let go of who we are not. In letting go of who we are not, we enter into the experience of nothingness, of non-being. And in allowing ourselves to have the experience of non-being, we come more fully into our true being. The void is a passageway to become truly alive and fully awake. Lao Tzu said, or wrote, "To die, but not to perish, is to be eternally present." So this void, although it may be uncomfortable for some, is our spiritual gift right now. It's to be in the present, to allow a new definition of who we are to rise up from spirit. Robert wrote, when he was in a time like this, he wrote this in his journal, sort of poetic: emptying, sinking ever deeper into the darkness, into the void. Formless, stripped of all flesh, standing in the emptiness of non-being. Even deeper into the nothingness, beyond form, beyond the formless. No movement, no desire, no sound, pure silence. Beyond silence, beyond death to life. The origin, the source to recreation. I invite each one of you in your personal lives, as well as in our corporate life, to think about letting that void be okay. So Robert says there's 3 things that we can do about the void. 1, embrace it. Go with it. Don't push the river. Let the river flow. Let time take its course. Let the healing happen. Let the excitement come up. Let the recreation happen in its own way. Got that? I know I had a lot of distraction there. A way to get out of the void is to embrace the void, to go with it. He also says a way to get through the void is to look within, not to expect an outside quick fix, to meditate, to focus on your dreams and visions, to reflect and share those reflections with people you trust. And a third thing is to trust the process. To go with it, to trust in faith. Well, you know that little trite phrase, it's pretty nice. When you're at the edge of a cliff, I never quote these right, and you have to step off the cliff, God's going to give you either a wings or a parachute or some kind of glass step to step on, right? So, I don't know about all that, but, the idea is... They have some truth, and then they're kind of corny too, those little phrases you hear on Facebook. But the thing is, okay, so if I step out and I don't know where I'm going, I'm going to be okay. That's faith. We're going to be okay, even if right now we have no idea what it's going to look like. We're going to be okay. we'll sprout some wings or get a parachute. It'll be okay. Whatever it's going to look like. The question is, are you willing to let go of what you think it has to look like? Are you willing to let go of what it used to look like? Are you willing to be open as a corporate group of spiritual seekers to watch where it goes with trust and joy? Are you willing? I am. We'll see where it goes, and we'll have fun getting there. Don't push the river. Go with the flow. Joseph Campbell, another trite phrase I found on. It's not that trite, though. We must be willing to let go of the life we have planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. I'm not sure if there's any life waiting for us. We create that life with our attitudes. If you have an attitude of despair and holding on and a hard grip on the way it must be, it's going to be hard to make room for the life that's waiting for us. So I invite you to co-create with me, with the board, with the spiritual leaders of this church, the prayer chaplains who hold this church in prayer all the time, and co-create with us whatever is next, with joy and hope and faith. Thank you. Namaste.